Hi, my name is Cynthia, and this is my reflective practice presentation. Reflective practice in education refers to the process in which educators analyze their teaching methods, experiences, and outcomes. Reflection is a meaning making process that moves a learner from one experience into the next with deeper understanding of its relationships with and connections to other experiences and ideas. It involves thoughtful examination of the instructional strategies, student interactions, and learning environments to identify strengths and opportunities for growth. These are four common types of reflective practice models. Starting with the ERA cycle, it was written by Melanie Jasper in 2013. First phase experience, educators begin by experiencing a particular teaching situation, whether it's in a classroom lesson, a student interaction, or a curriculum implementation. Reflection in this stage, after the experience, educators reflect on what happened, considering both of the actions taken and the outcomes achieved. They analyze the experience and their thoughts and feelings based off of it. And in the action, educators then take actions to make improvements or adjust their teaching practices. The next cycle model would be the Driscoll's what model. The what challenges the person to recall what happened, while the so what requires the learner to analyze and look for patterns or moments that were significant. And the now what is a time to begin restructuring according to new ideas learned. Although this was originally created for nurses, it has been able to be used across through other educators and other fields for reflection. We then have the Kolb's experiential learning cycle, and it was developed by David Kolb. The main point of this cycle is to understand that knowledge is created through experience. Kolb created each cycle so it was possible to enter at any stage and follow the sequence. However, effective learning cycle only occurs when a learner can go through all four stages. In this cycle, it emphasizes that the importance of active engagement with experiences, reflection on those experiences, and the application of the learning into world contexts. We then have Gibbs' reflective cycle, which was developed by Graham Gibbs in 1988 and can be implemented from a one-time experience event or situation that occurs frequently. The description phase allows users to describe the situation in detail. The feeling phase has users explore thoughts had during the experience. In the evaluation phase, users think about what worked and what did not work. The analysis phase allows users to understand what happened and why it happened. And the conclusion phase, it's when we summarize the events and what could have been made. And in the action plan, we make steps to do for next time. So, in my example of a reflective practice action, I used the Driscoll's what model based off of a poetry lesson. Starting with the what, the educator would theoretically create a lesson on a poetry analysis focusing on identifying poetic devices such as similes and metaphors. So we want to make sure we're creating a detailed lesson plan. In the so what, that's during the lesson, the educator can notice what students are actively participating in discussions and who is maybe disengaged and struggling to grasp the deeper meaning behind the poems. And in the know what, we address the varying needs of each student by deciding what strategies to implement for the future. So we could provide more scaffolding, guided practice, we could provide more modeling and step-by-step examples for practice. The educator's aim is to incorporate more interactive activities for the students, something to keep them more engaged. So we're looking at what had happened during the lesson, and now we're improving and changing it for next time to support the students. This is my reflective model approach, which was designed based off the ideas of Gibbs' reflective cycle in order to deepen my understanding of effective teaching methods and ways to improve my practices to better support student learning. To begin my reflective practice approach, I would do description, and within this phase, I am writing facts down about the lesson that I am teaching. I want a detailed lesson plan, just kind of organizing my thoughts and what I plan to do. Then I would move on to evaluation. And in this phase, it's designed to reflect on what occurred during the lesson. I want to reflect on the learning made, what I saw, what I noticed. The conclusion phase allows me to reflect on what I discovered during the evaluation phase and notice any patterns. Maybe I'm noticing that the same students are struggling. Maybe it's the specific content that students struggled with. In the action plan, I want to strategize specific steps that I must take to ensure all students are supported and what I could do for the future lessons. So this is my lesson plan. The basic idea is that I wanted to create a lesson that introduced the idea of fractions so we can share our thoughts and what we observed during the beginning of our new unit. I implemented a virtual options of fraction manipulatives, and I have the link right there. Last year, I had physical manipulatives, but the biggest struggle that I noticed was that we were losing the pieces, and a big part of having these manipulatives is that we need each piece to go together, so losing one is a big deal in one set. One of my external reflections was a classroom observation by my mentor. I am actually part of the induction program right now for my district, and it's really great because I get my own mentor and we get to have weekly discussions about what I'm doing in the classroom, what I could be doing, and just new strategies that I can explore and implement. And we actually took this as an opportunity for her to come observe me in this specific lesson. And she was able to provide me some feedback on when she was talking to students throughout the lesson and give me feedback on which students were seen more struggling and which students she saw were more higher. And we were able to compare like my perspective from hers, which was great. And then I did student evaluations with Google Forms. One of the questions I asked was, how would you rate your understanding of fractions after today's lesson? And I did this on a 1 through 5 scale, and no one voted below a 3, which is great. So using this, I could tell that most students had a basic understanding of fractions, and this will help me figure out how quickly I should move into my first few lessons and then take it from there. Then I have, did you find the online fraction manipulatives tool useful? And only 5% students did not find it useful, but the other large amount did, which showed me that, at least to them, they thought it was beneficial to some sort. And I did have them tab it so they could use it as needed in the future. And then, would you prefer using the online tool or an in person, so a physical manipulative next time? And I did have 70% say they would use an online tool, while 30% said they would rather use a physical tool. And this is a great guide to me because I do want to see what students prefer, and I could go into Google Forms and see which specific students would prefer a physical tool, which I do still have and could provide as needed if that is what they prefer. I did also ask, what additional support would you find helpful to better understand fractions in the future? And I had students reply, more teamwork for better understanding. I would use fraction strips or draw them out on paper to see what matches up. And something I would find helpful to better understand fractions is asking the teacher for help. And this question was really great because it's a little broader, and it has students specifically focus on what they want. And having teamwork is such a great idea that I could implement towards future projects because this is such a large unit. Okay. So, one of my internal reflections was a journal, and as you can see here, I recorded all my journal prompts, and you could pause as needed. And this is a great way of organizing my thoughts and focusing on how I'm feeling about the lesson and what I'm planning on doing. I think this is a great opportunity for me to really sit down and reflect, because we're moving so quickly throughout the day that I never have a chance to sit and look back on what I should be doing, what I plan on doing. And this is a great way. Okay, my next one was a lesson recording, and I actually took a small moment throughout my lesson to record a student that mainstreams from special ed into my classroom. On your screen, how many one steps are there?
3.
3. And is that similar to what's on here?
Yes.
I wonder what that means. Do you think they mean that they're equal to each other?
Probably not.
Okay. So as you could see in this video, I could tell that he was noticing that some pieces were able to match up, but he just couldn't understand how to explain that concept. And in the first part before this video, I did have him looking at the online manipulatives, but because I wanted him to actually touch and be tactile, I took out my tools, and we were just sitting there together trying to piece things together. And after this video, we still took some time after piecing the pieces together, talking about how they're similar, how they're different. And it did teach me that I do have to spend more one-on-one with him and focus on finding the equivalences, because it was a little bit more difficult. And again, if I didn't have the time to sit down with him and talk about it, I wouldn't have known that, right? So this is a great way for me to observe what he needed. So finding 70% of students preferred using the online tool, while 30% preferred using the tactile manipulatives. Providing partner or group work throughout the fraction unit for students to have peer help is something I should probably plan on doing and would be beneficial. And I got a basic understanding of who has background knowledge and who will need additional support, and this will help me aid me in forming the small groups. So small groups is something that I do spend a lot of time doing in math, because it could be a harder concept for a lot of students. So having that time, having that knowledge now, and spending the time observing and analyzing was great, because I was able to get knowledge, right? And what was great about having that discussion with my mentor was that we were able to compare and have like the first idea of what students might be grouped together, and what would be beneficial for them. So having that support too was really great for me. And my next steps would be to monitor struggling students and start building small groups according to the strengths and what they need. And here are my resources. Thank you.